All right, good evening, guys. This is Net, aka Pretty Hustle. You guys delivered. Y'all kept subscribing. I think we have like 140, 50 people subscribed here. So I am obligated to deliver, right? So I promised a video where we can look at some charts, kind of prep for tomorrow, see what we have going on a few tickers. These tickers that we are going over were sent to me. This is not particularly my watch list, but there probably are some that are on my watch list, and we'll look at the charts. Thank you all for the love on the last video. I really appreciate it, and I was glad that it added some sort of value. As I learn, my goal is just to share what I learn and help the next person. With that, we can start with just an idea of what happened post-market, right? We had earnings for a few. One of the biggest names was Amazon. And as you can see, Amazon's response to their earnings, they are down 4%. 4%. I see another ticker here down 6%. So we have some red in the market. You can click on any sector. So, right, if I click on the sector, I can see from health technology, what's trending down. This one is 4% down. You can always click on it, take a deeper look into the chart. This starts to empower you to find your own setups. This empowers you to begin to look for things maybe no one is even talking about, but you were able to find it because you did some homework and use your screener or use your heat map. So we can also see what's green in the market post-market, right? So we'll take some of this away. Let's look and see what's 2% or more post-market, what's happening. This was a great earnings response. I did check that chart out. Definitely going to be on the watch list. Um, Marvel is up 3% as well. So that's another one, MRVL. Airbnb, 1%, 1.83%. And when you hover over it, you'll see their actual price post-market, so 132.56. But how do you get there? You can first click on all US companies and you can start to see if you want to just look at the NASDAQ. You can, if you want to look at the Dow Jones, you can Russell 1000, S&P, or you can just do all US companies. If you filter down the S&P, you can then take away some of this and just see what's the biggest movers. Again, post-market, whoa, we have 11%. Let's just look. Expedia. So maybe this might be a good point to start with before we get to the actual watch list, because now Expedia has definitely captured my attention because we are up quite a bit post-market. Very interesting. So the post-market price for Expedia is 172.70. They're up 11%. Let's just see what's happening with Expedia. Do a little bit of research into why this particular company would be up post-market. They just posted earnings. So they had earnings after hour. Let's just take a look at Expedia EXPE. Wow, they're up $17.30. They're actually up to 190. So I'm sorry, that was the closing price right here. This was the closing price. I just looked them up. They're up to 190 when we look post-market in response to their earnings. So they had a great earnings. They beat earnings, had great revenue reported, and the market enjoyed it. So they are up all the way to 190. So let's just take a quick look at what that means for this stock. 190. Just get an idea of where they've been before. Okay, so this might be their all-time high all the way here at just zoom out for a second. 217.72, right? So currently, after post-market and posting a good earnings, they're trending at 190, which would put them in this weekly supply zone. So when we were here in this area in January, where they kept bouncing in and out of this range on the weekly chart. So just keep in mind I'm on the weekly time frame. 177.56 roughly to 188, a little bit above. It just kind of bounced around there. So on their last pullback, their final reaction was a nice pump to 190. So that weekly candle will definitely look different when we open on tomorrow. So what would we do with a stock that has already ran up? Well, me personally, you can kind of set some alerts based on how high they are. You can use like a pre-market. We can even go and try to turn in our, wow, look at that. Insane. So what I just did was turn on my after hours just to get a better idea of where we are after hours. So with such a large gap up after hours, then you can kind of see how the market responds on a Friday. Are we going to see a significant pullback? Once market opens, get some people taking profit. It's also Friday, so that may be another clue that there will be some profit taking. Or do they just continue to gap up? So you just kind of play what you're given at market open, knowing that we just had a big gap up after hours. So look to see what they do. We can't really call it until we see how we respond at opening. But we do know that they've landed basically in some resistance, right? This area is going to hold us some resistance, and really, unless they're going to break through 192.28 and hold over that price range, you can really see that they have a potential to move up based on the daily and test this next area where we have sellers at 195.89, starting at 195.89. Doesn't mean they can't break through all of this, right, with the right volume and amount of buyers, but we just need to know that where they're at, there is going to be some resistance, and that resistance should hold unless they again break 192.46. You really can get accurate with it and base it off that candle 192.34. Yeah, 192.34. Just basing it off the high of peak of one of these candles, and it looks like this will be the one to base it off of. So yeah, this stock looks really good. That was a great earnings. So I would say keep them on your radar to see what happens next with Expedia. Definitely not one that I've ever traded, so good one. But anyway, this is what your heat map can do for you. It can kind of give you an idea of what's happening. This particular stock is up 10%, almost 11%. We're not going to go into all of these because I do want to make sure we have time to capture a few of the requested stocks. So one of the requested stocks that was sent to me was TEM, ticker TEM. So we'll start with them first. I believe they had earnings recently reported. Or no, they have earnings coming up actually. Earnings is due to be reported on TEM on the 26th of February. And for the week, they're up $14.43 so far this week. So big moves for this particular company. All right, so I'm just zooming out to see what we look like on the weekly. And looks like we did a test. Well, actually, we lost the 12 EMA in December. And we have regained that 12 EMA on the weekly. And we're in an uptrend. So that's what we see from the weekly. All right. So when I look at this from the daily, I would probably go based on the range of the candle that closed today, just to see where we fall on tomorrow, where we land on tomorrow. And then currently, post market, they're down about a dollar. No, actually, they're up about $1.52, not down. But they were down for the day about $4.20. So. One thing I would like to do is just take a moment to understand where the high was. And basically, they didn't really break too much above this previous day candle. So now I'm going to be watching this candle and the price high and low. That's just kind of what I like to do to base my, guess you can say assumptions of where we'll go if we break above this candle high or below this candle low. So you can keep that as one idea of how to look at your analysis. But when I look at the daily here, we are above my 12 EMA. We've already broken, get this out the way. There we go. We've already broken my trend line since January, and we have a good way to go up if we can get some more volume and push up. Right now, it looks like they're pulling back from the candle here, so just keep that in mind. They did not break the previous day low, kind of an inside day. No real significant breakout or break low here. What I'd also be watching, and I guess this might be a good moment to remind everyone that I trade off the wolf chart. And so with the wolf chart, this is my WTMA, which is my wolf trend moving average, custom moving average that was created by Sean. So if you're interested in this chart setup as we go through, I'll have a link to it in my comments or the description of this video, and then I'll also link a video that you can go and reference to get a better idea of how to use this system, explained from the actual creator. So look out for that. Now, what I'm explaining here is that we're above my 12 EMA, we're above my trend line, so the trend is still intact and it's still bullish. This just seems to be a bit of a cool off candle. However, we want to see that we remain above this low, previous day low. So that would be above 63.52. Now, some people are always asking me, how do I get my lines that show the price? You can basically take this little, in TradingView, you take this dotted line to the price area that you want it to be at, and then you just click this plus sign, and then you come down and you can do draw a horizontal line. You can do a few other things here with your alerts. So if I draw a horizontal line, I want my horizontal line to say the low of this candle, which is 63.52. And actually, since we're going into tomorrow, I would set it as the low of this candle, so 64.15. If I'm not exact, you can always just double click on your line and then change your coordinates to be exact, 64.15. Now it matches the low of this candle. You could do the same thing with the high of this candle. It's kind of like an ORB, but basing it off the daily. High of this candle, I have 71.39. So if I want to be accurate, 71.39, typing a little backwards. A few of the things you can do, just since we're in the charts, you can change the color of your lines. I like purple. Purple's my favorite color, so purple. You can also set an alert. I want to set an alert that tells me that we are breaking above the high, break of previous day high. You can label it just like that. Then, if I just am a visual person, which I am a visual person, I can add a text. I can say break of previous day high. And you can do the same thing. I think I set my alert for the wrong. This should say previous day low. And then you can do the same thing here. You can say break the previous day low. You can also set your alerts. And I'm just setting it because why not? I'm already charting this. I might as well let an alert trigger if we do something here. Break of previous day high. All right. So now look at this. You have an idea. So when I take this same stock and move it to the 5 minute, and let's just say I'm trading off the 5 minute, I want to turn after hours off. All right. So there's going to be a few things happening on my 5 minute because again, I use a chart system. So I have supply and demand already here. I have trend lines already built in for me. This big yellow line that is turning red is my 200 weighted moving average. Kind of zoom in. And as you can see, once we lose that weighted moving average, we're turning red. That is a bearish signal. If we're yellow and we're above, that's saying the trend is up. And then we also have a crossover of my 12 EMA, which is red here because we lost the 12 EMA and we were pretty bearish. But anyway, if we were looking at that, now you can see that the same alert that I set from the daily is showing here on my 5 minute chart. And so it doesn't matter what time frame I go to, it's going to still feel the same. So now I have my high and my low as a significant breakout. That does not mean that you have to wait for these to trigger. You certainly can day trade from the 5 minute and follow the same setup. I want price to be above my 12 EMA. Well, first, let me just show you from my wolf chart, right? I want this spark. I want to see this happening. So I'm going to find where this is happening and just give you an example. I want to see this arc happening. I want to see good, strong green candles. I want to see price above this WTMA, which is my wolf trend moving average, price above my 12 EMA, and then we're moving up. Well, the chart also has resistance already put in for you, so you don't have to go and find it. It's there. So now I know that if I was to enter this trade, my strike price is going to be my nearest resistance, 68.92. So maybe you'd have like a strike of 67, 68. And you see price broke it. So then I also have my next nearest resistance. Same idea, right? So we broke my resistance, we broke another one, and we were weak here. This is where we started to reverse. Well, even if I didn't know that this would be the end of this bullish run, I get a signal with my WTMA. And it tells me from this crossover, when the red is starting to cross over, we get an arc and it's above, then that means that we are in a trend back down, like we're moving back down or we're moving down. So there's a signal to plan your exits. You don't have to, but this just gives you an idea like, hey, there may be a trend change here, so you might want to be protecting or closing your positions or taking some of your money off the table here. And then just as this signal hit here, we start to get the crossover and price basically just came down. Even when there was these little small crossovers here, we just kept losing support. So what we would look for on the next day is just to kind of play support at 64.15 and holding. And you would look at your next resistance target. So if price can stay above this 12 EMA and start to break up, you have resistance sitting at 66.30. So you can kind of play that range to start the day. And if they were to go into a bullish trend, they would first test this trend line, test this target here of resistance, have a little bit of a challenge at this supply zone. Just a 5 minutes, so they definitely can clear it if there's enough of a bullish run. And you definitely want to see what they do when they get to the 200. Now, uh, my people that don't use the wolf chart, you kind of like, well, what would I do, right? Just go ahead and pull up another chart. So on this chart, I have my 9, my 200, and we're just for fun, we're going to add one more EMA because I know there's a few of you guys that like the 20. So we'll add the 20. I already have them with a color. And we're going to go in and change this to the 20. So now I have the 9, the 20, and the 200. Change the style. We're going to change the color to, we'll just change it to this. I like thick lines and, oops, I think that's good enough for me. I have three EMAs now you can see in my chart. So let's just say I don't trade from the wolf chart. And you're like, well, Renette, what do I do? Okay, well, still, you have your same range, right? You can still go to the daily, mark the high and low of your last candle. and then you can chart down. So for me, when I'm prepping for the day, I go actually from the daily. I look at the weekly and the monthly to get an idea of what the trend is overall. And even if you were just using your EMAs here, we're still bullish. We're still, I think, let me just make sure I have my colors correct. 9 is blue, burgundy is the 20, and my 200 is yellow. Let's just see where, right? Yep. All right, so still the same story, right? You can still mark your high and low of your previous day to get an idea of the overall range. You can, let's see. So we've been bullish since January 22nd if you were considering above your 9 and your 20 EMA on the daily. You can go and find the 4 hour and just kind of continue to get an idea of what we're looking like. We're above 200 and our EMAs. And you can always expect price to do something where it goes above, but then it has to pull back and retest. Above, pull back and retest, above. And it just does that consistently. So even when you see a stock come to your EMA, if it's not losing it, meaning candles under and not touching, it doesn't necessarily mean that we're about to lose the trend. So on the 4 hour, you can see where we got the crossovers of your EMAs. They're all curling up. Looks good. All right. You can just keep going down your time frames. But if you're looking to day trade this one, I didn't mean to spend so much time, but I guess there's always lessons that I want to share. You're still going to follow the same thing. You want price to break above your 200 and hold above your EMAs. And you should know that if you take a trade and we're above your EMAs, once you start to get these candles, this is why you need to know your candles that signal weakness at this top, then you got to start thinking to yourself, how much more can we go from this move, right? So we move from 64.21, or you can just look at the low of this candle, which was 63.52, all the way up. You have a nice run just in one candle to what is this, 67.98, and then we have a little bit of a continuation. Price gets weak. We come back and we test. You have to ask yourself, am I willing to lose any more? I haven't got stopped out if my stop is all the way here, but am I willing to lose any of my profits? How much of that profit am I willing to lose? Because you can also raise your stop loss. Nevertheless, we come back and we test it. We don't lose it, we bounce. And then you just kind of get this movement here, and then we come and test the high. And so the challenge with this particular stock is once it reaches 71.39, what will it do, right? Will it break out and then we can say we have a continuation to the upside? Or could we potentially see a sell-off on Friday? We know sometimes Friday is a take profit day. 64.15 will give you a signal that we may get some more pullback. So you can also do the same thing with your support and resistance line, right? Where you see in my chart, it was put in there. There's indicators you can find in TradingView that automatically put your support and resistance, or you can do it. You can just go in and put your line. This is just by eyeballing the stock. I didn't go and measure anything. I can tell though, we've had some good support in this mid-range right here, 66.81. So you can even add that on your chart as a area of resistance. How many times did we see candles holding support here, right? We can see it here, here, here. We break it when it was resistance for just a bit. We can see it here, here. So this is significant to me. I see a lot of candles reacting to this price range, 66.81. You keep it there. So now you've added another layer. So don't be afraid of going in on the chart and really taking a moment to find different support and resistance to kind of give you an idea of where we can go, right? You can just eyeball it. So if I'm day trading, we'll be here, right? When the market opens, we'll be here, but you still have to look to the left and know what's happening. All right, so I gave a bit of a lesson in this one, so we'll move a little bit faster on the rest. Let's go to one that is a hot topic, right? And I want to go back to what I use, which is my wolf chart. So we're going to put these EMAs away. Now you know you can still follow a chart. You don't have to have the wolf chart, and you know where to find it if you're interested. All right. So we're looking at Palantir. Palantir had a very beautiful run today. And what's funny is if you just was paying attention to the first 5 minute candle, we've talked about opening candle, ORB, open range. I have a lot of fun using ORB at opening just to kind of give me a little bit of a, okay, I see where we're going here. Honestly, you would have taken the trade almost immediately at opening on Palantir. We did not come back. So when we broke the high of the first candle, the continuation was insane on Palantir. So if you were paying attention to Palantir, I was busy, so didn't catch it. You would have had your nice run from this opening candle at 8:30. So for my people that's like, what's ORB? What's ORB? You measure the opening candle, right? For me, I could have also just followed my wolf chart. We are above or we break above a resistance that's already on my chart. We've been here before. We've reacted before. It's on my chart already. We're breaking over it, and we just keep a continuation. My wolf trend moving average is telling me that we are good. We're good. We're good. We're good until price starts to fall under my moving average, but we're still above my 12 EMA. So I don't necessarily have to exit the trade. I just have to know that, hey, we're weaker here. We hit resistance here. Then what do we get? All of this choppiness. So if you're not long in the position, you can close your position and just not financial advice, but you can consider closing your position and avoiding all this choppiness if you're not long on the on Palantir for the day. And then when you start to get your signal, for me, it would be here that we have another potential move to retest this resistance of 108.68. It's really the high of this candle. Yeah, 108.68 on the dot. Then you would have said, okay, maybe I'll go ahead and take this trade, keep my stop loss somewhere around here, which for me, I just use this pretty cool tool right here that also goes with my wolf chart. It will give me the ATR of any time frame, the volatility status, in this case, an aggressive move, which we can confirm. And if I wanted to go long at this point of where we were, where to put my stop loss and where to put my stop loss if I was going to short Palantir. So in this case, boom, we do a really nice pop up and we break the resistance that we have not been able to break on a few attempts. And we make a move and we hit a high of 111.55. I was thinking we were going to get to 112, but there just wasn't enough time at closing when this move was made. So overall, Palantir still looks really bullish. Now, a few people are always like, well, what do we do with all-time highs? For me, just throw a fib on there. Let's see. Toss your fib up and you follow your fib. You don't have to know how to manually put a fib in. I would highly recommend you learn that and understand the power of using Fibonacci. However, in this case, you can use the auto if you don't have anything else to reference. And what it tells me is where could we go next? Well, on this particular fib, the resistance right now would be at 11.53 for Palantir. Next target could be 113.29, and we could measure up to 114.38. Those prices, if you're using AutoFib, does change with different time frames, and sometimes it doesn't match up. Oops. And so you can go into the settings, and I'll just try to get it to align. I hit reverse. And so this is from my 15-minute chart. It measures 114.46 if I was following it from the 15-minute chart. But when you're at all-time highs, you really just need to find to use your fib to kind of give you a guide of where we can go. It does not mean we're going to hit that. It just means where we can go. But it also kind of gives you an idea of if we come to a pullback, where can we retrace, right? And so then you have some support that you can already identify. We already know that 108.68 is an area of resistance before I even added fib. So we're going to watch 108.68 on Palantir as we go into trading session on Friday. I'm going to go back and readjust my settings just to kind of match it up. And we also see from the 5 minute, right? Because in a 5 minute trade, you're not planning to stay in that trade very long. You're getting into a trade from the 5 minute and you're following your EMAs. Maybe, we keep a continuation going and you just follow your EMAs as far as it takes you, follow price action, but you can also use your fib as a guide. So 109.77 would be a nice pullback retracement. And then want to see if that holds. If it doesn't, you can just follow Fibonacci down. But by then, you already have your own historical support and resistance that you can follow. If not, though, you can rely on Fib 108.30, 108.01, 107.80. I just will take that off and hide that. Just wanted to show you how you can kind of measure, even if you don't know how to manually put Fib on your chart. That can be a whole nother talking point on another video. Then you can just go here and add the auto Fib. It's in your indicators. All right, so Palantir, I mean bullish. We can go to 112. We can go to 114, 113, one as high as 120. We don't know. We're just gonna have to play what it gives us. McDonald's came up, so let's take a look. That's a very strong closing for McDonald's here. Let's zoom out for a bit. What are we looking like? All right, so on the weekly, McDonald's is trying to break down this supply zone. I do have my WCMA starting to curl under and may give us a crossover signal. We just know that we're going to be choppy here because we're in a supply zone. That means sellers are positioned here, but they do have earnings coming up on February 10th. So they're actually going to report earnings on Monday. You may catch some nice momentum either up or down on McDonald's because, you want to catch a stock and what it gives you pre-market if it's going to give you some really good movement. Again, up or down, it doesn't matter. You can get your money up or down. You can follow it. So Monday will be our earnings date. Am I right? Yeah, Monday the 10th, reporting Q4. So keep that in mind. And we just wonder, like, are they going to be super bullish on tomorrow? As we anticipate earnings, or are we going to get a significant pullback and the market wait on whatever they report out? Last time they had a good earnings, let's go to the daily and see. What did they do earnings? So last earnings was October 29th. They reported good revenue. Let's see, 55 point. Yeah, they were over actually. So they reported 6.87 billion. Their estimate was 6.82. So slightly over on earnings and revenue. And they didn't really have a significant move. In fact, they didn't really do too much from here. The move was really, as you can see, and as we see a lot of times on a stock, even with Amazon, right? Like you witness Amazon go on this insane run just to tank at earnings posting. So that's why it's a good idea to catch the momentum in either direction on a stock post earnings and pre-earnings. You can get your money like that. You don't have to take a risk and leave anything open unless you truly are able to and willing to lose or win your own risk in a trade, holding through earnings. But look at this. You could have made your money since their last earnings. Actually, this was their last earnings. This is just an example of how from their last earnings in July, you could have just kind of been planning trades and being trading McDonald's. They were on a bullish trend on a daily. all the way up to they hit a peak at like 315.48. Nevertheless, here we are. And in November, they had a pullback. So you would have been out your trade as you're getting close to where candles are starting to look a little bit weak, and we're getting some rejection here. You're out before earnings. So now we're here in a position where they've kind of just been in and out of this EMA, never holding too long above the 12 EMA. As you can see, they're either on it, playing around, or they're losing it. They still need to break through this resistance to have a real significant move. Um, and on top of that, let's just see. 296.44 could lead to like 298-ish, 298.85 if they break above this supply zone. And they'll run right into some more resistance and sellers. If they get above 303.95, and this is just an estimate, you can go to a candle to make it more accurate. Then they can start to get to 306.88. Then again, you just base it off of that. Now you have a cleaner space to move if they ever get here, and candles are holding over 306.97. Now we can move to this next supply zone. If you're trading McDonald's, they do look bullish from today's candle. There is some resistance as you've seen on the weekly and here on the daily that they're in, and they have earnings that will post on Monday. We don't know what's going to happen, and there's also going to be pre-market. You can't save yourself from a bad trade at that point, right? You just would take whatever you get once the market opens. If I start to go down, this is a 3 hour, just a lot of resistance here. Lots of resistance. So it's not something I would mess with, to be honest with you. You could follow the 5 minute, try to get some trades out of it, but as you can see from the larger time frame, they're in some resistance. Doesn't mean they can't break out of it, but I mean, it's just not anything I would trade. A little bit cleaner on the 5 minute. You just have to still be aware that if I look at this same ticker on the 3 hour, they're just in a supply zone. So it's buyers, it's sellers right there. They're in the mix of it. They're trying to break through it, but that's going to be a challenge. So I don't, you just trade what it gives you. As you can see, they've tried to pump up. In fact, they did a really nice move today, which is probably based on the fact that they have earnings Monday, so they're getting some momentum. So this would have been a nice catch if you were trading it from the 5 minute. And you can, again, trade it from the 5 minute, follow your EMAs, look for nearest support and resistance, and see where it takes you. You just have to know on the larger time frames, there's some resistance that you have to keep in mind. All right, let's go to another ticker. SoFi. A few people asked about SoFi. No, I'm not gonna be able to cover every single one of them on this video. I'll work a little bit faster next time to get more. But SoFi. A few people are asking about SoFi, and I also have SoFi on my watch list. I haven't really done too much with it lately. Obviously, the drop here since Thursday was insane. So whoever caught that did well. It dropped right to a significant area of support that's on my wolf chart, and it broke under it, but I mean, it came right back, and it didn't do anything significant. So it held there. So we have support at about 114, still made a little bit, 114.79. You can kind of put it there. You can get more accurate with it, but I'm just giving you an idea of where support is. Um, let's just take a look because we want to zoom out. We want to see what's happening. What's happening? All right, so we already know how high we can go with SoFi. The highest they've been is 28.26, and recent attempts have led them as high as 24.95. And I shouldn't even say recent, this was all 2021. So nothing recent. In recent attempts, we've been able to break $13 and hold, and we've been able to come as high as 18.42. So, SoFi does still look good. In fact, it's very interesting because we're right at a fair value gap on the monthly. Very interesting position to be in. Um, I'm gonna watch them. Support around 1458. See if that holds. Maybe they come in a little bit more and start having price close in this fair value gap. Let's move it over a little bit. Maybe we come back and test around 1373 or the low of this particular monthly candle, 1360. Not saying that's going to happen at all. I'm not trying to scare anyone out of positions. I'm just saying this is some scenario that could potentially play out, but know that we are at a fair value gap on the monthly. Okay, let's move to the weekly and try to move a little bit quicker. Hmm. On the weekly, we're getting my signal that we're we're in a trend reversal. Price is under my WTMA, and we're getting that crossover and we're getting our arc. So that kind of can lead to the idea that maybe we do pull back to closer to $13. I don't know that's going to happen. I'm just saying it could play out that way. Right now, we are on the 12 EMA, but price is slightly below it, which is why it's closing red. If you just take away the wick, price is below. If price, if the candle starts to open under this 12 EMA, that means wick included not touching, then yeah, you could potentially get a play out at least to this previous low of 1360. This is from the weekly, so we're going to zoom in a little bit more. Okay, we found some more support. This signal doesn't get any better. Basically, we can see that we are now getting candles under this weighted, this wolf trend moving average, and we see that price pulled back to 12 EMA, kind of chopped around the 12 EMA on the daily, and then we lost it. So let's just look and see. What do we mean when we say lost it? We lost the 12 EMA because we have candles on the daily closing under, not touching, wick included. We do see that this wolf trend moving average is catching up to it, right? Um, so we'll have to see what happens here. But I think that may potentially, I don't see why we just don't come back and test this $14 area, right? Tap this zone where we have buyers positioned. And this could hold us some pretty solid support. So we may not get to 13. We may stop somewhere around 14. We're respecting this trend line so far, so we could just potentially be seeing, let's get this out the way, get a better view. Sorry about that. We could potentially be seeing a pullback to the trend line. And are we going to hold this trend line? Are we going to lose this trend line? Or are we going to hold it? And then price can start to move above this trend line, and we're back on the upside. Right now, they're just kind of playing around. We're off the 12 though, but we're still playing around this trend line, and we haven't lost this trend line to signal additional pullback. Even if we do, you have to know that from here, we're going to have support pretty near that can hold for us. All right, that's SoFi. You can trade the day if you're wanting to day trade it using your 5 minute. You can play ORB on it if you like to use ORB. And if you see it just being a choppy day, I mean, find something else to trade. Don't get stuck trading something that's not really giving you any movement. Okay, let's do one or two more. AVGO was on a few people's list, and I definitely want to look at ELF because one of my trading queens took a trade on ELF, and it just made sense. The risk to reward. On this one, they had a downgrade and earnings was terrible. So we got to keep Elf on watch. I'm gonna just take a peek at them too. All right, AVGO, I want to see where they are. So let me just take a peek from my phone and see if I can see where AVGO is. Okay, they're up $1.77. Didn't really have any crazy moves today. Um, or did they? Let's see. This was all from Wednesday. Okay, yeah, they did have some moves for Friday. I mean, sorry, Thursday. Let's find out Thursday candle right here. So this was the first candle at opening. If you played ORB, this is a big range, big range. Kind of just looks choppy to me. I don't really see that they gave any real clear direction. It literally just played around in that range. Like this, okay. I don't know. So from this candle, it just didn't give a significant move. I guess that's what I was seeing. And it's up about $1 post market. Let's look at the overall picture. We're going to do the day just for the sake of time. Okay. Hmm. I do like this. We are getting what we call a floating candle on the wolf chart on the daily. And I'm zooming in so that you can see we're above my 12 EMA and we're above my trend line with candles not touching, wick included. However, the continuation didn't really do anything the previous day. So Thursday wasn't as significant. You probably would have wanted to see a bigger bullish move from this, the high of this candle, and then going back and test this supply zone. But what happened was we just kind of had an inside day from the previous day's range. So nothing significant happened. And you can really just keep basing it off this range here. Or you can go from this candle, but I probably would just keep it on this one because we just had an inside day, nothing special. Maybe if we get to break above one, the high of this candle, and then move to test the high of this candle, maybe we'll get that signal to push to what? At least 242. Same thing on the downside. If they start to lose the previous day low, they'll maybe test this 12 and can't you want to see price stay above that 12. Overall, we're getting a nice arc confirmation here, getting that bullish reversal signal. Like we're saying we were in a downtrend. Now we're getting a signal that we are in an uptrend and we're above our EMA, our 12 EMA. So interesting position. I'd like to see how they do tomorrow and what you could do tomorrow is just get to your smaller time frames and trade the trend. Don't fight the trend. It's nice to see a floating candle on the daily. However, they just need to get more buyers from here. hmm So, yep, you can play the range. Maybe this would be another good one for my ORB people to practice. Or if you like your 12 EMA, I mean your EMAs, whether you use a 12 or not, just follow your EMA. And if you're wondering what following the EMA means, let me just take the wolf part off for a second and I'll help you to see it from just this. All right, my 200 EMA is going to be here. And if I was looking to take a day trade on AVGO, first things first, this is a huge candle right here for opening, and it's a pullback. And then we get a bit of a bounce here, and we pull back to test my 9 EMA, and we don't lose it. We bounce back up. So now you have price above. ORB would have broke here at the high of this candle, and that would have gave you a trade from the high of this candle, which we can say is 233.94. They gave you that break. Then you would have popped up to at least a 237 move. So that's a nice ORB move, right? 237.89 just from waiting for an ORB break. Or for my people that follow the EMAs, You just wait to make sure that price stays above your 9 EMA. When do you exit the trade? Well, when you start seeing candles get weak at the top and start losing your EMAs. And then it starts to signal your downtrend. Get off of the EMA, test it, off, test, off, see how it goes, see the pattern. Same thing on an uptrend. Above, come back to, above, come back to, boom, boom, just does all of that. Follow your candles, follow your confirmations, and when you start seeing price closing above your 12, your 9 in this case, and your 20, and you don't have to use the 9 and a 20. This is just an example I have up, just because I know some, again, you don't have the same system I use, so I just want you to see from a different perspective. You still can get in your chart, follow your EMA, use ORB, find your own support and resistance if you want to go by support and resistance. Add your own lines in. You can just eyeball a line and see that price action around 230, 34, 32 is significant. We broke it, we ran up, we came back and retested it, bounced around, lost support. So you can just keep finding different areas where you want to track what price is going to either break out of it or hold. And just get comfortable doing it. Just get comfortable trusting your eyes and understanding where price might go, where it's been. When you're in a trade, let's just say this is the day here, you still got to know what was happening to the left of you so that you can plan where we might go as the day progresses. So always make sure you look to the left, always make sure you monitor your larger time frames and you have an idea of the overall trend. AVG's overall trend. Oh, I guess I was charting AVGO when it was down under. AVG's overall trend is, let me just get this out the way, clean the chart out. All right, it's bullish, and my wolf chart confirms that as well. We had a nice pullback, and we regained some support and did the bounce back. So find what works for you. There's just multiple resources out there of how you can trade. Not everybody's strategy is going to be the same. Not everyone's going to trade the same way. There's people that use harmonic patterns. I do have a friend who does teach harmonic patterns, and I could always share advanced pattern tradings in the YouTube videos that he's posting, which is very in-depth on different types of pattern that you will find in the market. I do have the wolf chart, which is my favorite tool to use. And then there's just other videos you can use and reference to find your style. Everyone's going to have a different style, but at the end of the day, once you know what's your confirmation and what to follow and actually understand what's happening in the charts, you'll be fine. One last thing before we wrap up, because we've already been at it for a minute, I don't want to make this video too long, is we will just look to see what's ahead. So let's go to our calendar. I think we have some, oops, didn't mean to do that. I think we have data coming out, so I just want to make sure that everyone remembers to check your economic calendar. And we're looking at Friday, and we have some data dropping all pre-market. So if this data gives you a negative response and you're in trades that might be impacted, you have no control over that because it's going to happen pre-market. Your stop loss is not even going to be triggered. So yeah, just be mindful. Consumer credit change is posting at 2 o'clock. We have a Fed speaking, another Fed speaking in the morning. Used car prices, unemployment rates, so participation rate, non-farm payrolls. We have data. So always keep in mind what's on your economic calendar. Okay. So I was not able to get through all of the tickers on our watch list, and I'm sorry about that. I may post ELF because I'm still interested in ELF. and a few others in the Discord so you can take a look and see what my thoughts are on those. I hope this video was helpful. I didn't mean to turning it into a teaching session, but since it is just the second video I posted, I know there's a lot of people that tend to have questions. Maybe a little bit of what I went through in the charts was helpful to you. If it was, just leave a comment, like the video, and then reach out to me if you have any questions. I really appreciate you guys watching the video. And if you like this, I will again try to move a little bit faster, but I'll also just make sure that we have a chance to cover more tickers. And if you like it, I'll just, I guess, keep doing it for you. So as long as one person watches the video and find it useful, I mean, I can keep doing this because I already prepped my chart. So again, I hope this was helpful to you, and I'll check in with everyone and do this again next time. Thank you.